Hi, I'm Adam Marek, and today I'm going to share with you a very simple but very powerful technique that you can apply to writing opening lines in your fiction. Um, Opening lines, they're so important. Have you ever been into a bookshop, taken a book off the shelf, read the blurb on the back and thought, this sounds interesting. Flipped open the first page and just read the first couple of lines and thought, nah, this doesn't really grab me. We do it all the time, and in all of those instances, the writer has failed because they haven't grabbed your attention enough to make you read on. The rest of that book might be, or that short story, it could be incredible. But if the reader doesn't get past your opening line and your opening paragraph, they're never going to find that out. So while you can do lots of different things in your opening line and your opening paragraph, you can introduce your character, you can set the tone, you can introduce a character's voice. There's a huge range of different things that you can do. But I would argue that the one thing you absolutely must do is make your reader want to read on. And to do that, there's a kind of psychological trait within humans that you can use. So, as human beings, we absolutely hate unfinished information. We can't bear it. It drives us crazy. We can't ever be satisfied with knowing half a thing. We have to know the full thing. So, for example, if I had begun this video today coming in saying, oh my God, I just saw the most insane thing outside, you won't believe it. And then the video cut and you never got to find out what that thing was that I thought was amazing enough to make a video about it. You'd be really frustrated. You'd think, what was that thing that he saw that was so startling, so amazing? And you might think about that for a while afterwards. You might think about it, might pop back into your head later in the day. Even years later, you might think, what was that thing that he saw that he just looked so startled about? What could have been so amazing? And it's because it puts a question in your head, and once a question is in your head, you want to have it answered. We as human beings want to have the questions we have in our heads answered. So in writing an opening line to a short story, if you can arouse your reader's curiosity, if you can put a question in their head, they will want to read on just to have that question satisfied. So let's take a look at some opening lines and see what they're doing. So this first one is from one of my favourite stories of all time, The Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. As Gregor Samsa awoke one morning from uneasy dreams, he found himself transformed in his bed into a gigantic insect. So what question does that put into your head? Why? I guess why is the question. Why is he an insect? What has happened to this unfortunate dude? Interestingly, that's the question that never gets answered in the story. You know, the whole it's about something else. It's about the way his family react to him, behave with him once he's had this transformation. Yeah, I could talk about that story lots more, but let's move on. This one from George Saunders, a story called Adams. I never could stomach Adams, and then one day he's standing in my kitchen in his underwear, facing in the direction of my kids' room. So I wonk him in the back of the head, and down he goes. What's going on here? It's in just a couple of lines. There's a whole scene there. There's conflict going on. There's so much there, and it's the comedic violence It puts lots of questions into your head. You need to know why, who is this guy who's standing in the narrator's house? Why do they hate each other? It arouses curiosity. It makes me want to read on. Does it make you want to read on? I hope so. You should go and read that story. It's amazing. They started to disappear in February, from Safe by Claire Wigfall. So that's just six words. They started to disappear in February, but it just demonstrates how simple the principle can be applied. The question is, who or what started to disappear in February? It creates that gap in your head, that need to know, and you will read on to find out what that day is. Your job as the writer is then to satisfy the questions in your reader's head with interesting answers, and to keep those questions rolling on. Okay, so here's another one from No Violet Bulawayo. Father comes home after many years of forgetting us, of not sending us money, of not loving us, not visiting us, not anything us, and parks in the shack, unable to move, unable to talk properly, unable to anything, vomiting and vomiting, Jesus just vomiting and defecating on himself, and it's smelling like something dead in there, dead and rotting, his body a black, terrible stick. I come in from playing Find Bin Laden, and he is there. But there's lots of questions in your head. Who is this father? Who is this family? And what on earth is Find Bin Laden the game? Okay. So another thing that you can do in a short story is, any kind of fiction opening, I guess, is to begin it in quite an ordinary way. But then have the thing that raises questions, the thing that surprises or arouses curiosity, as the last sentence of your opening paragraph. This one by Rajesh Paramaswaran does that brilliantly. The one clear thing I can say about Wednesday, the worst and most amazing day of my life, is this. It started out beautifully. I woke up with the summer dawn, when the sky goes indigo grey and the air's empty coolness begins to fill with a tacky enveloping warmth. I could hear Saskia and Maharaj purring to each other at the far end of my compound. I'd had to listen to their cooing and screeching sex noises all night, but it didn't bother me. I didn't know why yet, but I realised I was over it. Saskia could sleep with every tiger in the world but me, and I wouldn't mind. Such an amazing opening. Begins so ordinary, and then suddenly it's even up to the Saskia and Maharaj purring to each other. It feels quite ordinary, but then when the mention of the word compound, you're somewhere unexpected. Where is this question immediately in your head? The sex noise is surprising and intriguing, but then it's that last line: Saskia could sleep with every tiger in the world but me, and I wouldn't mind. Our narrator is a tiger. Amazing. You have to know what happens next. And this story, the infamous Bengal Meng, it doesn't disappoint. It keeps on satisfying all the way through. So I hope that's been useful. Just remember, put a question in your reader's mind. That's all you need to do, and they will read on. A good exercise is to just write opening lines. Just write some. Don't worry about what the rest of the story will be about plotting it all out and coming up with your characters and all the situations they'll be in. Just write 10, 20, 30 opening lines, practicing that principle. And sometimes when you write a kind of a startling, surprising opening line that surprises and startles you as the writer. You think, where did that come from? If you're writing lots of them, one after the other, your brain loosens up. You become much freer and start thinking more laterally. It's a challenge then to write the story. This happened to me actually. My story, The 40-Litre Monkey, the opening line popped into my head. I once met a man with a 40-litre monkey. I didn't know anything else about the story apart from that. Writing the rest of the story was just an exercise in trying to come up with a context in which that line made some kind of sense. So it can often, just writing the opening line can sometimes be the way into a story too. Anyway, good luck, and thanks for listening.